Every day, life can get in the way of your health. How are you helping your employees improve their mental and physical well-being? Maybe you think it's not your responsibility. However, your business could end up bearing the consequences. Not giving your employees practical and effective tools to better manage their health can easily lead to employee absence and presenteeism. For example, even if your employees are present, if they're working under too much pressure due to their job or their personal lives, their standard of work and personal health will be affected.
So thriving corporations rely on healthy, motivated people, employees who are productive at work and who have a sense of well-being. In reality though, life is not always as simple as that. Employees have to deal with illnesses, trauma, stress and unbalanced lifestyles. So Corporate Wellness Week runs from the 1st to the 5th of July. So the focus of our show today is on employee wellness. We have a guest panel comprised of CEO of a company called Proactive Health Solutions, a psychologist, an EAP professional from an organization called IAPA. You'll know more about it. And we invite you to be, part of this show by asking us some questions or just simply sharing your views with us. In that case, as always, the number to call is 714-6918 or 6919. You can also tweet us at SABC Health Talk or simply just interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk. Sit back, relax, and learn from this exciting show coming to you just after a small break. I'm Dr. Kgaogelo Pretoria, and this is Health Talk. Everybody fine?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Ntsiki, your practice, is around Johannesburg, isn't it?
It's in Monday and
Monday and Kgaogelo. Okay. Is that where you from, the East Rand?
No, I'm from Soweto, in Mapetla, but I used to stay in East Rand.
Oh.
So, yeah,
Okay.
that's why I then...
Mapetla.
Mapetla.
I grew up in Maletsana. I was wondering if it's really before.
Oh, all right. Okay, and did you study there?
Yeah, I did until 1977.
Okay,
And, in Soweto then.
after the uprisings.
Yeah, so I was in matric in 77. But that was like, we went to school for 4 months that year. So I had to start again, but then I went to Sharpeville.
Oh, okay.
78, 79 to go and do my matric there.
And in Soweto, which school were you? Which school were you at?
So 77 I was at Maurice Isaacson High School. 76 to 74, Molapa Secondary.
I knew because most people, I look like my aunts, and my grandfather was your principal then, Rajuili.
Rajuili, yes.
So when people were there, they think they know me. And then, but maybe they were there during that time.
Yeah. Rajuili, yeah. Although when I was there, it was Mama Bolo. I think 74 to 76. All right, we're going to learn more about what employee wellness is and, this whole notion of corporate wellness and what have you. But before that, let me introduce my special guests for our show today. Let me start with the lady closest to me. She's a psychologist, well-versed, with employee issues, workplace stress, and that sort of thing. Ntsiki Rajuili is a psychologist in private practice based in Johannesburg. Welcome to Health Talk, Ntsiki.
Thank you, Dr. Sila.
All right. And next to Ntsiki, we have Dr. Andre Klute. Dr. Klute is vice chairperson of an organization called IAPA. He'll tell us a bit about what IAPA is, but he's vice chairperson of the Kgaogelo Chapter of IAPA in South Africa. And welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you very much. It's Andre Klute, and thank you for having me on the show.
All right, thanks. I hope I did say Andre Klute at some point, yeah. And of course, last but not least is Dr. Fundile Nyati. He's CEO of a company called Proactive Health Solutions. And he started something new recently. He's a blogger, and he has his own blog, if that's how you call it, Health Blogger Solutions. Welcome to Health Talk once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start with you, Dr. Nyati. We talk about Corporate Wellness Week.
Yeah.
What is corporate wellness?
All right. Corporate wellness, it's those programs that are implemented at the workplace, sponsored by the employer, that are intended to benefit the employees, sometimes employee families, to ensure that those employees, whatever health challenges that they have, are addressed to the benefit of the employee, but ultimately to the benefit of the employer. So therefore, better productivity, better competitiveness, and if they are profit-making companies, yes, obviously, better profitability. But if they are government departments, better service delivery to the citizens of the country. Yeah.
Dr. Klute, this doesn't refer to the financial side of the company, does it? Or is there a link between corporate wellness programs or employee wellness programs and, the health of the financial health or wellness of the company?
Sure, there is definitely a link, because we all know that if the individual, the person that's doing the work, is a healthy and productive person, the benefit will go back to the employer, because they will become more profitable, more productive, also more service-orientated to the betterment of the organization. So a healthier functioning employee or person will contribute to the financial benefit and growth of an employer or organization in that regard.
Okay. Ntsiki, we talk about employee wellness, and we're going to come back to, maybe let's define it, employee wellness. We're told that there's, wellness is not just about physical being, there's various aspects. Do you want to just take us through what your understanding of employee wellness, at least for our viewers out there?
Okay, wellness for me, it's like a table that has got 4 legs. Wellness means that the society where you live, socially, things should be well. Secondly, it should be you physically, you should be well. And mental wellness is very important, because our body goes where our mind is. So if the body is not okay, then the mind is not going to be okay. And the last leg for me would be spiritually as well is very important. That's what we're talking about, wellness. And on the social level, we're talking about a person's finances. If they are not okay, then that person also is not going to be okay. If your relationship with your family and with the other people, your significant others, and including the church, we're including your Stockfelds and society, those members, if there's no wellness there, then it will affect you. And remember that an individual, it's part of the organization. It's a building block of an organization. So if one of the blocks is not okay, then it means that the organization will not be well.
Dr. Klute, obviously we need to just, for the sake of our viewers, say exactly what the significance is of this Corporate Wellness Week. But let's start off by asking you to tell us a bit about what IAPA is. I mean, in my introduction I said you're an EAP professional. What is IAPA?
IAPA of South Africa is a professional association that looks after the employee association industry, if we call it that way. And our role is to help guide the professionals and the practitioners that operate within this industry, on the one hand, and then also to guide and regulate the programs which are functioning within the employer or organizations where our people are working. So we fulfill this double-folded role to ensure that the standards that are set out by the association are implemented and adhered to, and that everybody can follow that to ensure that at the end of the day, well-being and functioning of the employee are enhanced, but also the employer that is implementing this, where the government or the parastatal or the corporate world out there can benefit from those outcomes that we would like to achieve.
Okay. Oftentimes you hear companies talk about they have their own employee wellness programs. Perhaps Dr. Nyati, just take us through to what extent companies across, the length and breadth of South Africa have these programs, and whether or not, how does one judge, that, this company has a very good program and this company thinks it's got a program and yet it doesn't?
Yeah. Well, employee wellness or the employee wellness programs broadly fall into 4 areas. The areas around your psychosocial issues, which is troubled employees, who may need counseling assistance.
Right.
That's one pillar. The other pillar is around compliance to occupational health and safety issues. And then the third pillar is around wellness screening. You'll hear about wellness days and executive medicals where people are screened for lifestyle illnesses, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes and things like those, obesity. Then the last pillar is around absenteeism management. Absenteeism, sick-related absenteeism, incapacity, disability. So these are the 4 broad pillars of what make an employee wellness program. So a comprehensive program will have all 4 of those pillars.
Right.
But what we will find in most organizations that they have 1 or 2 of those pillars and not all 4 of them. So I think the ideal is to have all 4, but again, these programs, they don't come cheap. So, they must be prioritized and customized to the priority needs of that particular organization. Yeah, but if you were in the public sector in South Africa, the DPSA has come up with a program that has got the 4 legs, and they are expecting every government department to implement that program. But again, they get evaluated on a yearly basis as to how far they are going towards providing the 4 comprehensive pillars.
But is it a nice to have, or are all companies encouraged to have comprehensive programs?
Look, it's not a nice to have, but again, the design must talk to the needs of a particular organization, right. Including the measurements of how effective the program is, must talk to that particular organization. So if people just implement a program without deep thinking around what is it that this program is going to contribute to the bottom line of this organization, then it becomes a useless program. So all programs must talk to the needs of a particular organization. Gone are the days where HR programs or human resources programs are seen as a nice to haves. If you've got people who are working for your organization, those people are the ones who drive your delivery, who drive your profitability. And if you don't look after those people, body, mind, and soul, then you are not optimizing the assets that you have within your organization.
And of course, that affects bottom line. All right.
Yes.
Time for a quick break. When we come back, we now continue our discussion, of course, on workplace wellness, but with a little bit of focus on workplace stress. Please stay with us.
The causes of stress in the workplace differ from one company to the other. Employees of different companies share their views on what the causes of stress in their respective companies are.
I think one of the main things that you'll see will be your work-life balance. People who cannot strike a right balance with regard to their work obligations and the family and life outside of work. Now, that will present itself at work, where you'll see, it will manifest into your stress.
The major stress, causes of stress in the workplace, I would say the big one would be change. Both change within the organization and change in the broader economy where we play in. So generally, I think given the slow growth in the economy, we've seen a lot of companies either shutting down, or reducing number of staff, and effectively that kind of change is creating a lot of stress for employees. And we can see it also in the organization, where we participate, for example, with trade unions around wage negotiation and those processes. You can see that issues around job security, affordability, are causing sufficient or rather excessive stress for our employees.
Basically, we have targets to meet, but you can decide whether the targets are going to stress you out or whether you're going to get excited about it, whether it's a goal that you need to achieve. And normally if you have goals, it's exciting, so it creates excitement. You have to bring excitement into the workplace. If you don't, then you will be stressed out.
Yeah, just how you differentiate between excitement and stress. Well, we have professionals here who are going to help us with that. Perhaps let's start with you, Ntsiki. Ntsiki, by the way, Ntsiki Rajuili is a psychologist, well-versed in issues of workplace stress, and is in private practice in Johannesburg. And we still have Andre Klute from Kgaogelo Chapter, and of course, Dr. Fundile Nyati, Proactive Health Solutions CEO. Let's come back to you, Ntsiki. What is workplace stress, or so-called occupational stress?
Okay, a workplace, where I want to start is that when an individual comes to work, it's like a bucket.
Right.
That bucket is not empty. It has got other issues inside of the bucket. And when they come to work, then the bucket is sometimes filled, and it comes to an extent where it spills. So as people who are talking here, you'll find that sometimes there are changes in the workplace, that people were comfortable with certain things. Now things have to change and they're feeling uncomfortable. The retrenchment, especially if they don't know that it's going to happen, they hear from other people that these things are happening. And at times people are placed in positions that they are not experts in. And they feel uncomfortable because they do not know how to do this. And therefore, they end up feeling very stressed. And because the body goes where the mind is. If a person is stressed mentally, the body will also start getting sick. And we'll have a person becoming sick all the time, going to the doctors. And that's what we call psychosomatic symptoms, because the body will be sick, but the main source of the sickness is the mind. So that's where I wanted to start, that when people go to work, it's not only that they do not have their own stresses, there are issues that are affecting them. And from home to work, we come across many things. Sometimes you can be irritated by the bus driver or by a person sitting next to you. So when you get to work, your bucket is already loaded. And the little thing that happens at work, then it will load that. Then that will lead to absenteeism, that will lead to people not wanting to do their work as they're supposed to do.
And I mean, of course, work by its nature has some element of stress. At what point do we then say, this level of stress now has gotten to a level where it's starting to negatively affect the employee? Is it something easy to diagnose?
I would not say it's necessarily difficult to diagnose, but stress is a normal part of our life, because in every day of life we all have our stresses. And there are many causes of those stresses that can complicate the matter. But in a simple way of trying to define what stress is, it is your understanding or the way you look at the situation or perceive it in terms of your demands, managing the actual scenario of stress, the demand at work, the demand in a relationship, whatsoever. And for you, that situation could be maybe overwhelming. But on the controversy side, on that side as well, you can sometimes also not have enough stress, and where you are becoming bored at work, you're not stimulated enough, and that can also then lead to a place of stress. So it's important and imperative from an employer perspective in the workplace to give people meaningfulness in their work relating to the skills that they are qualified with, to not add to that burden. When they come into the workplace, that they know they're comfortable, they are skilled, they are knowing the work that they're doing, and that the contribution they're making in the workplace is meaningful to them and to the bigger organization and the community at large.
Yeah.
And that will help them to manage that process better.
Yeah. I suppose people, react differently to different levels of stress.
Yes.
Right. Is it important, or how important is it, in terms of the frequency of the stress and the magnitude of the stress that, employees get exposed to?
Well, like you just said, people react differently to different inputs of stress. Let me start by saying there is what we call good stress, which actually drives us to perform. If you're going to be running 100 meters against Usain Bolt, you're going to be stressed. You want to get there. It makes you to be more competitive. So there is the good side of stress. For as long as it's just a short type of stress. What is a problem is chronic stress.
Right.
And basically when you're talking stress, we're talking when the demands of, on that person exceed that person's ability to cope with that stress. And each one of us cope differently, And so what is important in a workplace setting is that if I'm a manager, I must know people within my team. I must know how far can I push them. But there are also things that I shouldn't do as a leader.
Right.
Like coming up with unrealistic expectations or unrealistic deadlines. The kind of manager at 4 o'clock on Friday, I say I want something on my desk on Monday morning. The kind of manager who's a terror. Everybody is scared when they meet with me. The kind of manager who's always threatening people that I'm going to fire you. So the way people are led, the culture within the organization, where there's always forensic, audits, there's always this, there's always that, that makes people to be on the edge. It drives stress in the workplace. But the nature of the job also, Andre mentioned, a job that is not engaging, a job that, is not meaningful, where people feel idle, where people feel they are less valued, or sometimes even something like, where people are expected to do more, but the pay is not corresponding to that. So there's a multitude of things that actually result in people, having their coping mechanisms, not being able to handle all these stresses within the workplace and also those that they brought from the outside, financial issues, relationship issues, and other issues out there.
He quite nicely, focused on issues relating to the employer that often lead to stresses. Can we talk about, or is it possible to talk about high-risk employers or high-risk type of jobs, that lead to stress?
Correct. I think as an employer in a South African setting, it is imperative of employers to understand the industry and also when they go and do the recruitment practices to understand what type of jobs they've got and grade them according to the risk of the specific environment those people are going to be. I want to take a very simple example. If you take a mining environment and there are critical jobs in that environment where there could be a lot of risk, but also there's a lot of pressure on the outcome, on productivity. Like, for instance, the operator of the machine that chafes the coal, or the person that's fixing the bolts in the roof, if you're talking about an under earth coal mining operation. If those people are not there or not do their work well, other people's lives are in danger, but also If they are not there and the functioning is not correct, the productivity of the mine is hampered. So those are critical jobs, and I think it's important for employers to understand those risks and to flag them. And then when they do the recruitment of the people or the incumbents for those positions, to profile them accordingly, to help them to understand this is a risky environment. Because we all experience stress to it some way or other extent. What are the mitigating strategies you're putting in place already to manage those stresses? Because we all come with our own baggage and our own background. Yeah. But when you enter an environment that's already loaded with a lot of pressure, that is a potential time bomb that's going to explode some other time by people not coming to work, or you collapsing at work, or developing some other psychosomatic or physical problems.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to come back to you, Ntsiki, around the human issues, relations issues that often lead to stress. But let's take a caller on the line. Zeni from Cape Town. Zeni, welcome to Health Talk.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me on the call.
Right.
I wanted to comment a bit on what you guys have been discussing. Briefly just tuned in to the channel and listened to you guys.
Right.
I'm currently going through exactly what's been discussed, but I'm calling from Cape Town. And if you know the setting of working in Cape Town for a black person, mostly you don't have enough black people working in the workforce. I'm actually the only black person in my company, and actually the only black person in the whole building. And I have a lot of what I call racial stress in the workplace. Being the only one, being that you are judged from everything, whether we are in a boardroom, having to present, people are conducting business in other languages, like in Afrikaans, and expect that you probably know Afrikaans already, or you are basically being attacked without being heard of. And a few weeks ago, we actually had a talent management where we sat down and discussed basically this particular topic. And I found out that even our company has the worst BEE rating, which is 8.
All right.
And they were so unconcerned. And, we all know that racism is a very, very touchy subject.
Yeah. Zeni,
and I believe that in South Africa, they still do not want to discuss this type of have this kind of conversations in the workplace.
Yeah. Zeni, you raised a very, very important issue. I'm not cutting you because I don't want to talk about it, but we just have time issues. Ntsiki, all of you, I'm going to ask you to comment on that. But for now, we need to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on this subject and, of course, answer Zeni's question. Please stay with us.
Although legislated in the Labour Act, not all companies are complying with the corporate wellness, while some go an extra mile to make sure that their employees are taken care of. As the world commemorates Corporate Wellness Week, spotlight is put on whether companies do have programs to deal with stress in the workplace.
All our SABC offices across all provinces, they have a wellness center. Be it small or big, but it's well equipped. It's run by professionals, and we ensure that staff in the provinces know about what they can benefit from through education and health promotions. So that is our mandate. But however, through that we also have put together an integrated and holistic wellness program. So with the integrated and holistic wellness program, I think you would attest with me if you go and visit our wellness center, especially the one that is based in the head office, because that's where most of the employees are concentrated. We have put a state-of-the-art type of a facility because SABC, I believe that their mandate of caring for their employees, it actually manifests in what we have put together, in ensuring that when employees are here in the workplace, they are well taken care of.
The SABC and Nestle strategies are not necessarily different.
We have on-site clinics and we have on-site doctors, so employees have access to doctors. We also have an on-site physiotherapist at some of our units, and certainly access to a physiotherapist. So we recognise employees do suffer with stress and strain, and it's just to help them. Then from a sort of a psychological point of view, we also offer an employee assistance program where employees have access to counsellors and also to support in terms of financial indebtedness, because we recognise that it's tough out there. We do nutritional training, so all our employees go through nutritional training to help them to understand how to eat properly. And then when we pick up problems such as hypertension, cholesterol, diabetes and obesity, what we do is we have an educational program where our nurses on site educate our employees about how to take care of their condition, how to manage it, and how to get the right support for it.
According to BMW, outdoor activity has been one of the vital tools in alleviating stress.
What's been really, really fun is getting out of the office and getting people excited. So in these corporate wellness days, we may do displays, we may do ride and drives, we may get from all these corporate companies, as well as for their customers, we do for the employees of those companies as well. And then again, we all get involved. So I think the whole point is getting everybody excited to enjoy their day, as you say. Stepping out of the office really does ease the stress of being here. We all know what we're supposed to do and what's required about us, but making a fun environment to work in, which I think is the biggest thing, creates the wellness you need in order to work hard. So then it's not really a must, it's almost like you want to. It's exciting coming to work for all of us because we know of all the exciting things we have happening.
With all the facilities at the employees' disposal, getting people to use them is not that easy.
Health is a very personal thing. It's a choice, you know. If you are not impacted by it, or you don't have anybody close to you that is impacted by it, it doesn't bother you. You know, I mean, we use different types of tricks to get people just to come sometimes to attend a wellness day. Like, you know, encouraging them to come in and get a free test, or telling them if they come for this free test, they will receive a pen, you know. So people actually come when you are enticing them to come. But otherwise, they wouldn't just generally come. And like I say, usually the younger people tend to feel like, you know, they're invincible, they're healthy, they're strong, they're fit. They don't need to really come in.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing ideas on just how, you know, we can promote wellness in, you know, different workplaces and so on. I know that we had a call earlier from Cape Town, but let's take Kgaogelo on the line from Pretoria. Kgaogelo, welcome.
Good day, how are you, Ine?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. My name is Kgaogelo from Rajuili, Pretoria.
Right.
And I'm working under Department of Health. And I have two questions. I don't know whether we can catch up on it. My first question is that I'm having a 5-year-old child, and I must prepare the child before I go to work, and then I must knock in around 7:30. But the distance is that I must prepare myself, prepare the child, then send the child to crèche by walking, and then walk to the hospital. So I knock in around 8. When I'm saying I'm late, it's 8, 5 to 8. Then they are telling me that it's unethical and it's unprofessional because I'm always late. And bear in mind that around lunch, I don't take my lunch due to those consequences. And then the second question is that around 2015 April, I worked overtime. Till today, I'm still struggling to get my overtime money. The way I'm so stressed, I'm even going to psychologist. And the psychologist told me that there's nothing that they can do until they make sure that they are paying you that overtime money. I'm so stressed out.
Kgaogelo, I'm very sorry, about your stress issues, but you raised important issues anyway. Let's see if our panel can help. Perhaps let's first start with Zeni's call earlier from Cape Town. Zeni raised a very important issue around, racial prejudice at the workplace, which obviously is a source of stress for her. And of course, let's link into Kgaogelo's issues as well, in terms of, flexi time and the working mom. And I'll invite comments from all of you. Yeah?
Okay. As I was listening to Kgaogelo, what came to my mind was that Kgaogelo is faced, one, with looking at the effects of apartheid in the past.
Yeah.
And
so that's Zeni.
Zeni, yes,
Right.
I'm sorry, that's Zeni.
Right.
So each and every day when she gets to work, remember we spend most of our time at work than at home.
Right.
Now, each and every time she goes to work, the memories of the past are evoked, that this is what was happening. And secondly, she's representing all the black people, I would say, because she's the only black person in the company. So what is happening is that any mistake that she does, it will be like black people are like this. So she feels that responsibility of becoming good for the black community. And now the memories of the past are being evoked. Those were traumatic, and post-traumatic stress disorder as well can affect the way the people function. So it is important that she also goes for her own sake, for counseling, to deal with the issues that are affecting
Putting
her.
too much pressure on her own
Putting
as well.
too much pressure on her, yes.
What about the responsibilities of the employer? I mean, it's an important part. Yeah, any of you? Yeah?
I would like to respond on that. From IAPA SA side, it's imperative that when an employer implements a program like this, you need to understand the needs of the people within the employee environment, so that the strategies you put in place speaks to the needs of the people. Like Zeni's case, where she is the only one of her group, it's important that you, in your training departments, your learning and development, your transformation and development departments, that you speak to that, so that you can allow people to feel comfortable and accepted within those areas that could prevent them from optimally functioning. Right. It's important that they address that. And secondly, to encourage people when they feel that they are in scenarios where they are threatened or are not okay with themselves, that they're encouraged to go and seek counseling should there be an employee assistance or wellness program inside. But what I think it's important that employers need to understand, but also employees, that there are many facets to a wellness strategy or the corporate wellness program. Right. And that needs to be addressed in the complete strategy of an employer, that all of those things are well researched, well monitored, and speaks to the needs of the people, and that we can support the people in the need.
Right. Dr. Nash, you had a comment.
Yeah. Earlier, I actually mentioned that the organizational culture or climate could actually be a source of stress. All right? Sometimes it's not the official, culture, but the subcultures within the organization. A subculture of racism, a subculture of sexism, a subculture of many, many things that cause stress to people. Right. Now, for me, the issue there is it goes back to leadership within that organization. The tone needs to be set by the leadership in their business strategies, in their growth strategies, and also compliance to the laws of this country, the constitution of this country, the labor laws of this country. Now, what it tells me is that that organization, as part of its talent management, strategies, it has not factored the issue of diversity within the workplace. So what she is experiencing are symptoms of poor leadership, are symptoms of poor policies within the organization. And so somebody like her, yes, at an individual level, she has to go and consult a professional to deal with these matters, but it's going to be ongoing. But to deal with the matter, it is important that she makes a formal grievance to HR, okay? And let her be heard in terms of what she is experiencing. And if she doesn't get, a support or listening, audience, from Asia, then she may even need to raise the matter at the highest level before she then decides if they do nothing about it. There's equality courts. There's human rights, commission. So there's a number of avenues to deal with matters like that, which seem to be problems relating to racial or diversity management.
Let's move to Kgaogelo's call.
Yeah.
Kgaogelo is a working mom. She's stressed about the fact that she can never be on time, and she's,
Okay.
You wanna
I think
continue?
for Kgaogelo, it's a typical issue of a working mom. She has to work because, she has to provide for her kids. But at the same time, she's got a 5-year-old kid. Now, organizations nowadays have to be able to accommodate, especially, working moms. Some employers will even have preschools within the environment. All right? So I think if I was her manager in that hospital, I would, try and find a way to accommodate her unique issues, still ensure that she works the hours that she's supposed to work, but because of her, unique issues, also accommodate that, especially if she does deliver at work.
Some people may say this whole notion of, flexi time for different people kind of interferes with corporate culture. Your comment on that?
I do believe that there's a place for flexibility, and I do believe that's also dependent on the leadership, as what Dr. Nyati has referred to, of the company, to make provision for such a platform that people's needs can be taken into account. I do believe that there's place for this, and the people's voices needs to be heard, and that people can look after their own staff in that regard, should there be a need for that. But I think also that people need to understand that, work has to be done. And in certain industries you can cater for that, and in other environments you can't. But speak to your managers, speak to your business, so that they can know about these needs, and any plan can be created. Depends on the willingness of the people to be heard and to also implement those strategies.
It's about the employer supporting the employee. More on that after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. If you've just joined us, we're talking employee wellness. And with me in the studio, I have three special guests. Ntsiki Rajuili, a psychologist in private practice in Johannesburg. Andre Klute, Vice Chairperson of Kgaogelo Chapter. And Dr. Fundile Nyati, CEO of Proactive Health Solutions. Now, I believe we have Given on the line from Palabora. Given, welcome.
Hello?
Yeah, your question, please, Given.
Yes, my question is, it is possible for an employee to become a higher risk and not taking a direct instruction for only one day?
I'm not sure if I heard. Sorry, the line isn't too great. Can you just repeat your question?
I said, is it possible for employees to become a higher risk and one day or not taking a direct instruction while you work for 6 years and taking all the instructions when...
Okay. All right, I get the gist of the question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to, he says that, is it possible, after having worked for 6 years in an organization, I would imagine a high-risk type, employer, is it possible that you suddenly can be regarded as high risk? That's the question.
Well, I think, although it is not clear what he's referring to, but I mean, again, he seems to be aggrieved by the fact that somebody has said he is high risk. Right. Now, without the facts, we can't exactly, say what is happening. Yeah. But yes, you could have been a very good employee over a period of time. But then something happens in your life that raises your stress levels, and then you take out your stresses to either your colleagues at the workplace. We've seen in other organizations where injuries on duty, they tend to go up when people are stressed. Right. So yes, you can be a high-risk employee, based on matters of stress. Yeah. But I think the context has to be very, very, very clear. Yeah, so absolutely. With him, he didn't really give us a proper context, as to how he got to be identified as such. Yeah. Another person may have been a functional psychotic, and then now he is starting to be much more, clinical in terms of the symptoms of psychosis, and therefore he that gets to be told that you are a risk at the workplace, risk to yourself and risk to others.
All right, yeah. I suppose, yes, like you were saying, I mean, it's difficult to, if you don't have all the facts. But let's just get back to a probe, because otherwise we're going to run out of time soon. Yeah. We were talking, I mean, in the earlier clip that we showed, somebody made reference to the fact that, it's not often easy to get people to do stuff that's correct, as it were, referring to the employees. Now, the so-called employee assistance programs. So two things that I'd like us to talk about. The first part is, how do you promote wellness in a company, to an extent that at least it's acceptable and people get to follow what you say? And the second part is employee assistance programs. What are they and how are they structured? Anybody could give us that?
What is important that the companies need to consider is that people are scared to expose the dirty linen in public, in a way, to show that I've got a problem and I'm now seeing a psychologist. So most of the companies, they would get affiliates from outside to see their employees. So that becomes better for the employee to say, I am, my story is confidential. Nobody will know about it. So I think it is very important that you shouldn't just look at a counselor or a psychologist who's based at the workplace, but you also have to have other people outside where you can refer, but your employee doesn't have to pay. Because some of the companies, I hear them saying that our employees have got medical aids, but they do not know what is it that they can consult with. I've got a medical aid, I can only use it when I go to hospital or when I'm sick. But with my mental well-being, I don't know.
I suppose that's what IAPA does. It looks after, well, EAP professionals. You want to tell us a little bit more on that?
I would like to answer the question by starting with your second question first, in terms of understanding what is employee assistance programs. Because in the past, when these types of programs started, in South Africa, we started around seeing programs like this in the 1940s in the mining environments, where EAPs were predominantly focused on alcohol or occupational alcohol-related problems and substance abuse in that regard. But today you find that there's quite a comprehensiveness in terms of the issues that's addressed. But typically still it only looked after the person that already had a problem. Now we've progressed, and we're a progressive society, that these programs have also progressed by not just focusing on a person with problems, but starting to proactively focus on training and development awareness and making people more aware about the issues that they are potentially to face if they're in certain environments.
Yeah.
So,
can I interrupt you just 1 second, because I'd like us to just squeeze in a last caller onto the program. Mzwakhe from Soweto. Mzwakhe, welcome.
Yeah, and your view, your colleague there, and my problem, big guy, is this. I was once like, your topic is powerful. I agree very well with Dr. Nyati. Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. You have uplifted my spirit with everything. Because what happened to me at work is too much traumatic. Like, for instance, as a policeman, we have been arrested while doing the duty, of which means it can be long, but I'll make it short.
Please, because we only have 2 minutes, literally, yeah?
Our suspension was uplifted, but at the end of the day, when we came back to at work, there is no one who's cancelling us. I got injured at work, and HR doesn't take anything from me, doesn't take me to transport to the hospital. When I come back, everything they are starting from now, looking for that 60 days.
Yeah. Okay.
I must bring it back. So they are pressing me.
Okay. Mzwakhe, thank you so much for your call. Perhaps Dr. Nyati would like to quickly comment. I mean, it's another stressful job, a policeman, yeah?
Yes. Well, I mean, the job itself, it's an inherently stressful job. They deal with, situations that are not normal over a repeated period of time, and so clearly that's a high-risk job.
Yeah.
Now, SAPS does have an in-house, employee health and wellness unit. However, there are issues. The issues that it's an in-house program, and people worry about issues of confidentiality. Right. So the utilization of that program isn't, at the optimal level that it should be in. So that's a problem, and I think they need to seriously consider a hybrid program with internal delivery, but also the option for people to be sent to the outside. Yeah. So I think that's what needs to happen in that situation.
Okay, guys, we've run out of time. I'll give each one of you 20 seconds. Just advice to employers in terms of EAP.
Okay, firstly, for me, I would like to say to employers, they must know that the body goes where the mind is. If the mind is not well, the employee's body is not going to be well.
For me, it's important to let employers understand that although these programs are workplace programs, it is still the employee at the end of the day that is the user of the program. But the betterment of the company and organization will be as a result of employees having higher or heightened functioning, enhanced functioning.
Right. I think it's on that note that we're going to have to leave it. Ntsiki Rajuili, psychologist based in Johannesburg, Andre Klute from IAPA, Dr. Fundile Nyati, CEO of Proactive Health Solutions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, to our viewers at home, thank you so much for being with us. Please, I'm Dr. Solomon, and please join us next week, same time again. And until then, please do take care. And thank you so much for your calls, by the way.